Deuteronomy Chapter 4, Advantages of Fidelity. Now therefore, Israel, here are the statutes and ordinances I am teaching you to observe, that you may live and may enter in and take possession of the land which the Lord, the God of your ancestors, is giving you, in your observance of the commandments of the Lord your God, which I am commanding you. You shall not add to what I command you, nor subtract from it. You have seen with your own eyes what the Lord did at Baal Peor. The Lord your God destroyed from your midst everyone who followed the Baal of Peor. But you, who held fast to the Lord your God, are all alive today. See, I am teaching you the statutes and ordinances as the Lord my God has commanded me, that you may observe them in the land you are entering to possess. Observe them carefully, for this is your wisdom and discernment in the sight of the peoples, who will hear of all these statutes and say, this great nation is truly a wise and discerning people. For what great nation is there that has God so close to it as the Lord our God is to us whenever we call upon him? Or what great nation has statutes and ordinances that are just as the whole law which I am setting before you today? The revelation at Horeb. However, be on your guard and be very careful not to forget the things your own eyes have seen. Not let them slip from your heart as long as you live, but make them known to your children and to your children's children. That day you stood before the Lord your God at Horeb, when the Lord said to me, assemble the people for me, that I may let them hear my words, that they may learn to fear me as long as they live in the land, and may so teach their children. You came near and stood at the foot of the mountain, while the mountain blazed to the heart of the heavens with fire and was enveloped in a dense black cloud. Then the Lord spoke to you from the midst of the fire. You heard the sound of the words, which he wrote on 2 stone tablets. At that time the Lord charged me to teach you the statutes and ordinances for you to observe in the land you are about to cross into and possess. I love you too, God. Danger of idolatry, because you saw no form at all on the day the Lord spoke to you at Horeb. From the midst of the fire be strictly on your guard not to act corruptly by fashioning an idol for yourselves to represent any figure, whether it be the form of a man or of a woman, the form of an animal or on the earth, the form of any bird that flies in the sky, the form of anything that crawls on the ground, or be the form of any fish in the waters under the earth. And when you look up to the heavens and behold the sun or the moon or the stars, the whole heavenly host, do not be led astray into bowing down to them and serving them. These the Lord your God has apportioned to all the other nations under the heavens. But you the Lord has taken and led out of that iron boundary, Egypt, that you might be his people, his heritage, as you are today. But the Lord was angry with me on your account, and swore that I should not cross Jordan, nor enter the good land which the Lord your God is giving you as a heritage. I myself shall die in the country. I shall not cross the Jordan, but you are going to cross over and take possession on that good land. Be careful, therefore, lest you forget the covenant which the Lord your God has made with you, and fashion for yourselves against his command an idol in any form whatsoever. For the Lord your God is a consuming fire, a jealous God, God's fidelity and love. When you have children and children's children, and have grown old in the land, should you then act corruptly by fashioning an idol in the form of anything, and by this evil done in his sight, provoke the Lord your God? I call heaven and earth this day to witness against you, that you shall all quickly perish from the land which you are crossing the Jordan to possess. You shall not live in it for any length of time, but shall be utterly wiped out. The Lord will scatter you among the peoples, and there shall remain but a handful of you among the nations, to which the Lord will drive you. There you shall serve gods that are works of human hands, of wood and stone, gods which can neither see nor hear, neither eat nor smell. Yet when you seek the Lord your God from there, you shall indeed find him, if you search after him with all of your hearts. and soul in your distress, when all these things shall have come upon you, you shall finally return to the Lord your God and listen to his voice. Since the Lord your God is a merciful God, he will not abandon or destroy you, nor forget the covenant with your ancestors that he swore to them. Ask now of the days of old, before your time, ever since God created humankind upon the earth, ask from one end of the sky to the other, did anything so great ever happen before? Hear the voice of God speaking from the midst of fire as you did and live. Or did any God venture to go and take a nation for himself from the midst of another nation by testings, by signs and wonders, by war with strong hand and outstretched arm, and by great terrors of all which the Lord your God did for you in Egypt before your very eyes? All this you were allowed to see, that you might know that all of this you were allowed to see, that you might know that the Lord is God. There is no other. One of the heavens he let you hear his voice to discipline you. On earth he let you see his great fire, and you heard him speaking out of the fire. For love of your ancestors he chose their descendants after them, and by his presence and great power led you out of Egypt, dispossessing before you nations greater and mightier than you, so as to bring you in and to give their land to you as a heritage, as it is today. This is why you must now acknowledge and fix in your heart that the Lord is God in the heavens above and on earth below, and that there is no other. And you must keep his statutes and commandments, which I command you today, that you and your children after you may prosper, and that you may have long life on the land which the Lord your God is giving you forever. Cities of refuge. Then Moses set apart 3 cities in the region east of the Jordan, to which a homicide might flee who killed a neighbor unintentionally, where there had been no hatred previously, so that the killer might flee to one of these cities and live. Bezer in the wilderness, in the region of the plateau for the Reubenites, Ramoth in Gilead for the Gadites, and Golan in Bashan for the Manassites. The second address. A. The Lord's covenant with Israel. Introduction. This is the law which Moses set before the Israelites. These are the decrees and statutes and ordinances which Moses proclaimed to the Israelites after they came out of Egypt, beyond the Jordan in the valley opposite Beth Peor, in the land of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who reigned in Heshbon, whom Moses and the Israelites defeated after they came out of Egypt. They took possession of his land and the land of Og, king of Bashan, as well the land of these 2 kings of the Amorites in the region beyond the Jordan to the east, from Aroer on the edge of the Wadi Arnon to Mount Sion, that is Hermon, and all the Arabah beyond the Jordan to the east as far as the Arabah Sea under the slopes of Pisgah. Wow. So I'm looking at the date on this, that I read it last, was June 1st, 2023 at 12:30 p.m. Almost exactly a year ago. Chapter 5 of Deuteronomy. The covenant at Horeb. Moses summoned all Israel and said to them, Hear, O Israel, the statutes and ordinances which I proclaim in your hearing this day, that you may learn them and take care to observe them. The Lord our God made a covenant with us at Horeb. Not with our ancestors did the Lord make the covenant, but with us, all of us who are alive here this day. Face to face the Lord spoke with you on the mountain from the midst of the fire, while I was standing between the Lord and you at that time to announce to you these words of the Lord. Since you were afraid of the fire and would not go up the mountain, the Decalogue, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. You shall not have any other gods besides me. You shall not make for yourself an idol or a likeness of anything in the heavens above, or on the earth below, or on the waters beneath the earth. You shall not bow down before them or serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, bringing punishment for their parents' wickedness on the children of those who hate me, down to the 3rd and 4th generation, but showing love down to the 1,000th generation of those who love me and keep my commandments. You shall not invoke the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not leave unpunished anyone who invokes his name in vain. Observe the Sabbath day, keep it holy, as the Lord your God commanded you. 6 days you may labor and do all your work, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord, your God, you shall not do any work, either you, your son or your daughter, your male or your female slave, your ox or donkey, or any work animal, or the resident alien within your gates, so that your male and female slave may rest as you do. Remember that you too were once slaves in the land of Egypt, and that the Lord your God brought you out from there with a strong hand and outstretched arm. That is why the Lord your God has commanded you to observe the Sabbath day. Honor your father and your mother as the Lord your God has commanded you, that you may have a long life, and that you may prosper in the land the Lord your God is giving you. You shall not kill, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal, you shall not bear dishonest witness against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife. You shall not desire your neighbor's house or field, his male or female slave, his ox or donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. Moses as mediator. These words the Lord spoke with a loud voice to your entire assembly on the mountain from the midst of the fire. In the dense black cloud, and added no more, he inscribed them on 2 stone tablets and gave them to me. But when you heard the voice from the midst of the darkness, while the mountain was ablaze with fire, you came near to me, all your tribal heads and elders, and said, The Lord your God has indeed let us see his glory and his greatness, and we have heard his voice from the midst of the fire. Today we have found out that God may speak to a mortal, and that person may still live. Now, why should we die? For this great fire will consume us if we hear the voice of the Lord, our God. Any more we shall die. For what mortal has heard the voice of the living God speaking from the midst of the fire as we haven't lived? You go closer and listen to all that the Lord our God will say, and then tell us what the Lord our God tells you. We will listen and obey. The Lord heard your words as you were speaking to me, and said to me, I have heard the words these people have spoken to you, which are all well said. Would that they might always be of such a mind to fear me and to keep all my commandments. Then they and their descendants would prosper forever. Go tell them, return to your tents. Then you stand here near me, and I will give you all the commandments, the statutes, and the ordinances. You must teach them, that they may observe them in the land I am giving them to possess. Be careful, therefore, to do as the Lord your God has commanded you, not turning aside to right or to the left, but following exactly the way that the Lord your God commanded you, that you may live and prosper, and may have long life in the land which you are to possess. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Glory be to the Father, to the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.